right, everybody, welcome back. Sam's Army episode, Match Week 4/5. We'll be talking Premier League, where Arsenal's world-class bus parking will be talked about, as well as ArneBall potentially being found out, and another big one this coming week with City versus Arsenal. Then halftime, MLS fandom advice, round the world with the new and quote-unquote improved Champions League format, and of course, Hit-It-N-Quit-It MLS minute. And then, of course, stoppage time. Ivan Toney's best bets and everybody's favorite segment, GOAWs. Now, time to welcome in this week's panel of beauties. And in the spirit of optimization and streamlining, we are going to combine this week's hot topic together with a traditional introductory question. So, the long-anticipated trial of Manchester City, featuring the infamous 115 charges, finally, mercifully, got underway today. So, now, we have no idea how long this, case is going to be heard, how long it's going to take for the decision process to run its course, when a punishment will be handed down, if and when that comes, and how long the appeals process will run, right? There's a lot of question marks and a lot of timelines stacked one after another. But because offering semi-learned opinions / guesses is really kind of our thing, I will ask you both the same question here. So we're going to start with Tyler Terrence, Mr. Minuteman himself. So I need 3 yes or no answers from you here. Number 1, if and when City is punished, will that punishment involve a ban from European competition?
Yes, they will be. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Not 2, European competition, banned from Champions League. Banned from Champions League, not Europa League.
Okay.
Yes.
Will it involve titles being stripped?
No.
Will it involve 1 or more relegations?
Not as straightforward as that, but yes.
Okay.
They'll get docked 25, 30 points for the following season. Yeah.
That's a level that they can overcome and not get relegated, right? So
you're not. That's why I'm not saying no. The intent behind the point reduction will be to relegate them. So it's a yes and no answer to your question.
Okay. Tommy McGunner and the permanent shit-eating grin that you're going to be wearing all episode. Same questions for you, 3-part. First one, European ban. Will it be part of the punishment, yes or no? Well, stripped. Relegation.
Very similar to Tyler. But I'll say, if they are guilty of, if it's 130 charges, 80+%, yes. Below that, no.
Well, we got a long time to think about this, I suspect. And we'll be hearing a lot.
They said 2 months. They said 2 months it'll take to go through all the charges now that it started.
But that's not when we're going to get a decision. And then
No, it's not. But to sift through all of them in a legal stamp.
So we got a lot of timelines still to go. All right, we're headed straight into the Premier League, where unfortunately we got to talk about the North London Daerby, the highlight / lowlight of the weekend, where the refs stunk, Arsenal cheated, and a undermanned but plucky Tottenham Hotspur team, tired from international travel, I might point out. We persevered against all odds to almost pull out a famous... We did not. So as it happened, though, Arsenal allegedly won this game 1-0. Now, Tommy, I know you're dying to talk about it, but before we get to you and your disgustingly biased takes, let's go to Tyler, the neutral party here. Tyler, what stands out about this 1-0 win for Arsenal?
I texted the group. I think that the defensive commitment and the defensive structure, and you can call it what you want, parking the bus or whatever, but the fact of the matter is that they went on the road in a derby match, banged up, coming off of an international break, and got 3 points on the road via set piece. I don't really know what else you want. Those are the types of wins that galvanize locker rooms. Those are the types of wins that can potentially get you into Champions League, potentially win you a title. So I understand that from the Arsenal that we're used to seeing, that it looked like they were parking the bus, and for large parts of the game they had to withstand some pressure. But I think that I think that they are the most disciplined and committed defensive side in the Premier League right now, and possibly in Europe. And I think that the narrative that this was sort of a miracle win based upon the fact that Odegaard and Rice weren't available is sort of a little funny to me, considering that Partey and Jorginho is still a better combination than whatever Spurs is going to throw in the middle of the field. So I don't know. the biggest surprise to me is, I guess, the way in which they did it and how their defense, and we knew that coming in, right? They had the best defense in the Premier League last year, and they only got better. How well it held up, and they got a clean sheet on the road in 3 points. So good for them, because there were clearly teams like Liverpool who could not handle coming off of the international break.
Which we'll get to in a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, Tommy, your turn. I won't even sort of say what I think. Arsenal's defense was impressive. I got some things to say about Spurs, but what's your thoughts here? Was this just sort of not the 11 you'd want? So we'll just take a win as a win as a win?
No, I think there's more to it than just that. But I'll hit the hot topics first. The Timber thing, not a red. The goal could be a penalty. Could be a foul.
Yeah.
Those are the two big ones. I don't think either team actually did enough to win the game. So I think it ties a fair result. I don't think Arsenal was great on the day with the ball. They're very pragmatic, and that's something I think as an Arsenal fan you learned about them at the end of last year and the beginning of this year, especially away from home, that they can go do that. They'll have to go do that again against Man City, and that was for me the big takeaway for the game for sure. And I think if you're comparing last year to this year, like the team evolving and can they actually challenge for the title this year? They tied a game at Spurs earlier last year, or at the beginning of last year. And these early season dropped points was Fulham last year, Brighton this year, along with the North London Daerby. Can turn those into wins. Those are the difference between, beating City and not beating City for the title, because the margins between those two are so small.
Yeah. Well, I want to disagree with you on any or all of that. I really don't. I didn't think the Timber play was a red card at all. It was, arguably not even a yellow. You take a risk when you come in with your studs kind of showing kind of high, but the contact was very minimal. Porro really sold, or tried to anyway, sell the heck out of that. So I agree with you. That's definitely not red for me. I also agree with you on the goal. Who was it? Bentancur, maybe, who got pushed on the play?
It was Romero.
Romero? Okay.
Who decided
well, I didn't think it. If he had flopped, they could have called that. But he didn't flop, and I'm okay with it not being called a foul. I think that you just got to play better defense, like plain and simple. Play better defense. I don't disagree with you there. I guess I have to say something nice about Art. Your defense is good. I want to talk shit about the parking the bus and all this stuff. Jose Mourinho probably beating his meat thinking about it, but man, part of this I do think is Spurs. When we have the ball, we just don't really know what to do with it. We're not like the team that creates brilliant moves like tiki taka, bing 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 bing. That's not us.
There's two teams right now in the Prem, I think, who can consistently break down a low block, and that's Arsenal and City, because we clearly saw the Liverpool are not capable of doing it yet. Breaking down low blocks it's tough business over the course of 90 minutes.
I would say Man City is much better than Arsenal at doing that.
For sure.
The league of their own on that one.
But to your point earlier, Tyler, about Arsenal's commitment defensively, you look at teams that and I don't know how they preach this inside their inner sanctum, but there is a cult around defending, and there is a commitment level that is common for teams that really make defense their sole identity. Whereas, say, an outsider just watching Arsenal, their identity is more with the ball going forward, and to have that commitment in their second phase, I think is crazy good.
It's impressive, and I'll take it a step further. If you're Mikel Arteta and you're trying to figure out ways to usurp City, you're not going to do it by scoring more goals than them and outscoring every single team. Whether you want to talk about the striker situation or not, it's just not going to happen. So maybe he's flipped the script a little bit and been we're just going to be the best defensive team in the Premier League. Hard stop. I don't know if I don't know if the inner sanctum is being preached in that way, but it certainly looks that way. And I'm not just talking about Gabriel and Saliba, who are obviously incredible at what they do in the back line in general, and Ben White, but across the board, the commitment to defending is very apparent. And if you watch them while they defend, everybody wants to watch the team who has the ball, but watch them defend. Watch the way that they get back, watch the way that they get numbers back behind the ball in transitional moments. Like, there's a clear commitment that, like, there are no easy goals. There are no situations in where they're going to sort of, like, just give up clear-cut chances like we see City do, but that's also a byproduct of how they play. Like, they're not changing how they play, whether it be at home or on the road. Like, Arsenal clearly went in with a game plan, especially given how battered and bruised they were, whether it be injuries or suspensions or whatever, and they executed that game plan beautifully. Like, it's scary to watch, like, and they celebrate every tackle like it's a goal, which, again, Tommy, to your point, is sort of like an indicator of how what is going on right now at the training ground for Arsenal.
That's fair.
I would not be shocked if there is a compilation every Monday or Sunday morning of just walks, dirty plays that win them games.
Yep.
I think the addition of Timber is like maybe a small decrease on like passing and dribbling from Zinchenko and all his great
stuff. Who cares though?
But is like double the amount of defending.
Might be more than that. Because Zinchenko was a cone by the end of last year.
Yeah,
an absolute cone.
And then the knock-on effect is Gabriel can stay in the box and just eat shots for lunch, which is, I think, his favorite thing to do on earth.
Well, that's the thing. They have at least 3 guys back there who enjoy the work, who who love the work.
Yes.
Who punch the clock to defend, take shots off their nuts, take them to the face. Like, they enjoy it, and you need some dogs like that.
My hot take is Saliba is the one who could arguably enjoy it the least, but he does it just so he can show off his strength and his skills recovering the ball. Because every time he does one of these where he like recovers the ball, then he goes on a little bit of a dribble.
Yeah,
I think that's his real motive behind defending, is that he can dribble out of situations.
He's like a defensive meathead, like he's aesthetically defending.
Yes.
Now, so my take on this game was, it's tough to judge Arsenal going forward based on this game when you don't have Odegaard, who's kind of your guy to make things happen. You can judge the defense, and they passed the tests. I don't even think anybody's worried about them passing the test. Your defense is incredible. Spurs, on the other hand, our offense, I don't know. I don't know what's going on there.
Is Big Ange in trouble?
Oh, I don't think so. This is obviously not the start you want. I think we're in 13th.
If it continues like this until Christmas, he will be.
Yeah, but that's a long ways. I mean,
I agree. What I'm saying, though, is that, like, you have to get Solanke going at some point. Like, you don't have a ton of excuses at this point in time. You know what I mean? Like, he's got his team mostly fit for the most part. Like, they've got to find a way to get something done against a big team. They have to.
Yeah, this was a big time failure. Like, no doubt. This was a failure for Spurs. Like, this test, I mean, take away the fact it was Arsenal, which, makes it that much more important. It was a test, and we failed. Our offense is just stagnant. Solanke was out there. Maybe it's not fair to judge him individually against Arsenal when you come up against the Saliba-Gabriel combination. That is
yeah,
tough.
he requires service. Other guys got to take attention away from him. I agree. It's not solely on him, but that's Ange's job to figure out a way to do the things that I just said. Draw attention away from him, figure out a way to get delivery into the box, good delivery.
Yeah.
This Spurs team is not the entertaining, fun watch that I typically turned on last year so far.
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah, we just haven't gotten in gear. There's just, I know that's a cliche, but it's just true. We just haven't.
Yep.
All 4 games, we just have not looked very good, to be honest. So hopefully it's a bit of a wake-up call. I don't know. Defensively, the team didn't play terrible, but, Arsenal wasn't really doing much and didn't get much going. So I guess that's kind of a credit to our defense. But set-piece defending. We are historically bad. I know, Tyler, you probably, this is kind of up your alley because Liverpool has been bad as well. But we are so bad. Like, sorry, I wasn't meaning to take a shot at you. I take shots at you sometimes.
Since Virgil van Dijk has stepped foot in Liverpool,
I don't want to go off on this tangent too far.
No, please. No. Lump Liverpool into the same conversation as Spurs in one part of the field, please. Make my day.
Company.
Make my day.
You had low-hanging fruit with Arsenal sucking at set pieces for the last 10 years. And
that's true. That's true.
Yeah, why'd you come after Liverpool like
maybe
that?
Maybe my brain was accidentally mixing the two up. But you're right. Arsenal isn't good either. But the problem is that Vicario, not the problem, a problem is that Vicario is a very, very good goalkeeper who has a massive just massive weakness. Like, he just cannot control his box. He doesn't know when to come out. He is not sort of he's just doesn't command the area. And we're getting killed, right?
That's a problem in the Premier League. It's a problem in any top five league in Europe, but it's a problem in the Premier League.
That is a big problem. It's something that, I don't know, we don't have a keeper on here. I was going to ask, or that you could ask, could you get better at this?
I've got a take on this, to what Tyler just said. I heard from someone who played as a goalie in like lower divisions of England for a bit, that there they tell their goalies to come out for everything. Off crosses, set plays, whatever. And that while he was at like a Premier League club, they told them to do the opposite because the delivery was so good and in such dangerous spots that by coming off your line, you actually increase the chances of the attacking team to score than if you stayed on the line. So unless you're, and I think that's like Raya's biggest strength is like coming to claim things high. Unless you're,
tell that to Emi Martinez too.
Unless you're one of those guys who's like really, really good at it, it's probably best to stay on your line. And
but he also gets caught in no man's land a decent amount too. Like, he sometimes doesn't know whether or not he wants to come or whether he wants to come or go.
Arsenal runs the sort of getting traffic in the box as well as anybody, any team in the league. Yeah. So there are a couple things going on there. We just got to get better. Last thing on this game, and it's more about Arsenal. You guys got a tough little week here with Champions League first game and then City. So I just wanted to point out this is a big week to see where Arsenal's at and sort of whether you can. Yes, you got up against Spurs and you won the game in a tough circumstance without some guys. See if you can keep that same energy, as the kids are saying. We shall see. All right, next up, I think we got to talk about the second biggest. At least given the result, the surprise of the result, Tyler. Liverpool losing to Forest at home at Anfield for the first time I think I saw since 1969.
Ugh.
Blip or reason for concern here?
I think it's a blip. I mean, anybody who thought that this Arne Slot era was just going to start with rainbows and butterflies until next April was fooling themselves. I think that Forrest came out with a really good game plan. Nuno's a fantastic coach. Like, that's not a surprise. And I think that the majority of Liverpool players had a really bad day at the office. And Arne Slot came out after the game and said that he probably could have used some rotation in the squad. And, that's not just rotation because of tired legs and because of the travel and being with your national team and then coming back in, but also because, like, there were a lot of guys who, like Curtis Jones, were with the team, trained with the team all week, and, like, they were a Liverpool player during the international break. And I think that not just giving them a chance for the sake of giving them a chance, but Curtis Jones is a proper Premier League player. Like, he plays in games, he starts games, he's a rotation guy. Like, rotate. That's, I think, and Forrest, God love them, not nearly as many international players as Liverpool. So I think you saw a mistake from Arne Slot and a learning experience. The most concerning thing, I think, was Mo Salah being the worst player on the field. And that's not an exaggeration. Like, he could not complete a pass to save his life. And everybody wants to talk about how the pay structure with Liverpool disrespects legends, and we did it to Stevie G, and we did it to Firmino and Mane to an extent, although he went to Bayern, and now we're going to do it to Mo. But, like, why would we break a pay structure that clearly has been working, and why would we do it for players who are on the decline? I'm all for honoring legends, but there's a different way to do that other than to fuck your team up for the present and for the future for the sake of paying somebody an obscene amount of money who is on the decline. Mo Salah is on the decline. I was watching highlights of him from, 3 or 4 years ago. He used to torch people. He's not doing that anymore. So I'm not saying what we saw from Mo Salah against Forest is what we're going to see for the rest of the year. It's far from that. But I think that that's an early indication of, like, his time at Liverpool might be over. And, like, Chiesa could be a replacement of sorts, maybe on the aggregate, sort of like how I try to replace Haaland on the aggregate in Fantasy Premier League, and we all know how that's going. So, yeah.
I love the visual I just had of, you after that game going on YouTube and just, like, searching Mo Salah 2019.
That's not what happened. There just happened to be some Mo Salah highlights that popped across my Twitter time. I don't really go searching for YouTube highlights unless it's a player who's coming into MLS who like I've never seen before, like Joaquin Pereira from Minnesota United, aka I'm the voice of the Loons, because I'm about to do my 18th Minnesota United game this week, this Wednesday. So anyway, yeah, that's not what I do.
Okay, listen, you say whatever you will. Yes, I think the one perhaps question mark. I mean, I agree. Everybody's gonna have blips. Tottenham started the season with like 3 blips in a row, or 3 out of 4 anyway. The way that Forrest was able to pack the middle of the field, and you guys had no answer for it, whether that's a long-term problem or an answer, or if they just got lucky and you guys had a whole bunch of guys who were tired and just not on their game, who knows? But it looked like Nuno could have come up with at least a little bit of a game plan there that I'm sure other teams will try. Whether they succeed, who knows? I guess we'll see.
By the way, we got done up by a Chelsea and Manchester United reject on that goal.
Oh.
Joe and then Alanga.
Yeah.
Good goal. Really good goal. A goal befitting of beating Liverpool at Anfield for the first time in 100 years. That's for damn sure.
There you go. Make yourself feel better a little bit. Any other games that you want to bring up? So there was Wolves. They were up 1-0 at halftime. Newcastle.
We got to talk about Everton. We have to talk about Everton.
Done and dusted. Got to give a quick shout out to Newcastle. That second 45 was night and day. Harvey, talk about nice goals. That Harvey Barnes goal. Wow, that was nice. But, yes, I think Everton was actually the next one I was going to suggest, perhaps talking about. I just want to find like Steve Cerruti and like give him a hug. Or find an Everton. They need hugs. They all need hugs right now. It's getting to the point where I feel like they've hit rock bottom so many times that it's just gotten like they're just making new bottoms. I don't know. You're the one who brought it up. What do you got to say about Everton at this point?
All I got to say is I changed my relegation picks at the end of week 1. I said Everton's going to get relegated. Shout out John Duran, Chicago Fire's finest. And when I say Chicago Fire's finest, I do really mean it. He is the finest that Chicago Fire has to offer. It's not Xherdan Shaqiri. Promise you that.
I don't even think that's a hot take. That's just a factual statement. Yeah. Jeez. Everton were up 2-0 in that game, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
Again. How does he still have a job?
Oh.
I don't think that's on him.
I mean, the fact they went up 2-0 is not nothing.
Who's it on?
You set your team up to win the game. And I think a lot of coaches, you set your team, whatever, really for the first 45 minutes, because then shit happens, right? And you could talk about like in-game management, but this team's been up 2-0 at half the last 2 weekends.
What about the?
And then I think it's on the players, like just late game decisions, like track your marker at the back post. I know Duran's is a wonder hit, like step to it, but yeah, step to it, and there's a guy making a run in behind into the box, and you pass it to him. Like that one's a little. I didn't see the other 2 goals, but yeah, that one's a tough one to stop.
Oh, poor Everton.
Woof.
Poor Everton.
Woof.
Other games, Southampton just got worked by United.
Okay, we got skip that bullshit. Talk about City Brentford.
Yep, that was the next one. So City. So we were talking about Arsenal's defense. Then if you look at City's defense, like if we're talking about 2 teams that are allegedly the 1-2, the only title race, unless Liverpool, sticks around.
I don't love how matter of fact everybody continues to say that. Like I'm not a huge fan of that
either. But I felt like it was just sort of a good way to intro this question.
Of
but
what?
I hear you.
Of just like Liverpool? From the beginning of the season, just like it's only Liverpool, it's only Arsenal and Manchester City who are challenging. Like I feel like that's a tad presumptuous.
It
just
is,
a little bit.
It is. I still think it's probably factually accurate, or at least we'll prove that way.
I mean, but why does that need to just continually just be verbalized? Why can't people keep that to themselves and then like let it unfold that way when like Arsenal and City are tied on points and Liverpool's 10 points back? Then you can say it. But like to say it at the start of the season when you haven't even seen what slop ball looks like. Except against Nottingham Forest. Like, and to be fair, we've only conceded 1 goal so far this season. So, just gonna throw
so
that out there.
we got a 2-team title race, and it's 1A and 1B, Arsenal and City, and then 2 is Liverpool. So there you go. So Arsenal and City. The reason I was bringing this up is that Arsenal's defense looks lights out, right? I mean, they are just a tough team to score on. City, on the other hand, gets scored on every single game. So what is it that stood out to you, Tommy, about that Brentford City game? Which City did end up winning 2-1, based on a brace from Erling Haaland, who Tyler is gonna cramble together in the aggregate. But what stood out to you from that game?
Like, I was not expecting them to be this good after a slow start to last year and without Toney. But I think they look better without Ivan Toney, more dynamic with that front five. And if you look at Pep Guardiola's comments after the games, he usually, I know there's the thing going around, like he usually is so complimentary of teams that he's just whooped their ass. But they didn't necessarily whoop Brentford's ass. It was a much closer game than that. And he was very complimentary of Brentford and Thomas Frank. So I think I learned more about them than City, I think, in that one. I checked the stats after like 15 minutes, and they had 3 quality chances and 75% of the ball at City, which is something no team has. I'm pretty positive no team has ever done that in the first 15 minutes, let alone a whole game at City.
Brentford looks impressive, and of course we get Tottenham has Brentford next week, so that's great. That's special. Other results: Brighton held 0-0. Scoreless was Ipswich. That was an interesting result. Anything else from the week you guys want to touch on, or we move on? All right, so FPL. Time to give some shout outs. Not a great week for me, by the way. In fact, if you're looking for reasons why Liverpool lost that game, and specifically why Mo Salah was so bad, I pulled the trigger at 5 a.m. 5 a.m. on Saturday morning before getting up, driving up to Madison for the Wisconsin-Alabama game. It was, I pulled the trigger. I am now officially, at least for the moment, an Erling Haaland plus Mo Salah FPL team. So I had to blow up my whole team to obviously do that. Mo Salah immediately laid a huge goose egg, which, was pretty predictable, I suppose. I should probably apologize to Liverpool fans. I apologize, Tyler Terrence. This week, the leaders of the Sam's Army Podcast League are Flip FC Alex Shushko. I feel like you were near or at the top last week. Blues Boys Jonah Lucier. He's also tied on 319. Double B's Brian Stoper is in third. FC Sardis Alex Papa, and It's Called Saka Ryan Miller. There's the top 5. Now, in our little Sam's Army Council of Elders group, we got Mikey Fowler has taken over the top spot. He is up on Mitchell Goulet by 1 point. Then followed in third by yours truly on 245. Mick Gunners, you actually had a worse week than me. Was that what happened there?
No Haaland and Captain Salah. That's what that was.
That'll get you.
That'll get you.
And then
Who would captain Mo Salah?
I haven't picked up Haaland. Oh, and Isak got hurt. That didn't help either.
Oh, that does look like the FCTT has Mo Salah captain that week too. That's unfortunate. You did pick up some points on Tommy though. You're coming up, and I'm sure it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, totally. I'm really rising up the table.
You actually beat the average, 47 points. Oh no, average is 51. Nope. All right, never mind.
No.
Yeah. So that was a tough week for a lot of us. Apparently, anybody? Are you guys making any? I don't know what to do at this point. I just blew up my team to add Mo Salah, and he did absolutely nothing. So I don't know what to do with my team right now. Anybody? You guys got any big changes you're making?
I'm stacking up some transfers. I made a couple of moves. They since have not paid off yet. I might need to get rid of Mo.
I am holding off on Haaland until after the Arsenal game. And looking at my next week's team, half of my lineup is down the middle of the field and is in this City Arsenal game, so I might have to make some changes there.
But not Haaland. You're not going to go there.
No. I'm just removing people from that game.
Yeah. Okay. Benching him.
Mateta's finally starting to come good a little bit. I think that he's gonna have a big season. Yeah.
All right. Well, there's our segue to the weekend preview. The the top of the table battle, 1A, 1B, the two-team title race that also includes Liverpool. Arsenal visiting City. This is a big game, and we're not even talking about the fact that Arsenal has a Champions League game on Thursday, right in the middle of all this.
Against whomst?
Good question.
Tommy.
Atalanta.
Oh.
Yes. In Italy.
That's going to be a tough game.
They've got, I will say, this week that they're in right now, and there's a week in November, are brutal. Like, they have midweek in Italy, this one, and then City, obviously, and then in November it's like away to Newcastle, away to Inter Milan, or / PSG, one of the two they go away to, and then away to Chelsea, Newcastle. That's another week of just 3 shit away games. So we'll see. But
yeah, that's not it's not great. At least after this little stretch, I was just looking at some of the other games. You got an EFL Cup game against Bolton, Leicester, PSG, then Southampton, Bournemouth. So at least you got some.
Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves.
True.
This will be a snooze fest unless you like tactics. Then hit the record button and bring out your notebook, because you will learn something. Other than that, I really don't see there being a goal from the run of play. So
either way,
I will say this: there will not be this might be my best bet. There will not be a goal from the run of play that is deflectionless.
It has to be something.
You can't bet on that. I'm no genius, but
that's tough. Opta or whoever does the scoring has enough difficulty, sort of saying whether it was a shot on goal, which Mikey has all sorts of problems with. Yeah, I think they'd have very much difficulty with a deflection. So Arsenal City, this is Arsenal visiting City, by the way. Tommy's on record. This is going to be a tactical battle. That will be.
It could be a 1-1, 2-2, but it's not going to be from the run of play.
2 is insane.
What he's saying is that those games against Liverpool and Manchester City, when there were actually only two title contenders, that's not going to be this.
No, that is a 3-3 run of play goal fest. I know.
Yep.
Same outcome, different scoreline.
Well, listen. Liverpool fans are world class at making it all about themselves, but Tyler actually has a good point there. When those few years when City and Liverpool were playing each other, 1-2, man, those games were incredible. City, Arsenal, other games, Spurs, Brentford. Perfect time to get Brentford here. This is a game that I think we win, and I think it's going to be a lot of goals. But here's what I'll say: I'm not worried about Tottenham at all. If we don't win this game against Brentford, and I know it's a Brentford team that is playing well. And Guardiola was just massaging Thomas Frank's nether region, and he was talking about how good they are and all that. If we don't win this game, I will, for the first time all season, I will have a small amount of concern in my brain. Right now, I'm fine. I think this is still a top 4 team. If we don't win this game at home against Brentford, I will officially be slightly worried. And I know Tyler's waiting for me to finally admit that. But I'm not there yet.
Okay.
Other games, West Ham, we got a London Derby. West Ham hosting Chelsea.
Brighton, Nottingham Forest, the two kind of surprise starters of the year. They play each other.
That'll be a good one. And then also, I don't know what they call this specifically. This is like, I guess, just a Midlands derby of some sort. Aston Villa hosting Wolves. I know that's a big rivalry in that neck of the woods. So there's actually some great games this weekend. I will be looking forward to them. But we'll move on. Halftime. Weekly what if. Oh. Someone who does not live anywhere near a city with a team in it here in the U.S. So basically what I'm saying is geographic proximity is not important in this question. This person asks you, Tyler, you go first. You're MLS resident commentator / expert. If they ask you which MLS team they should root for, what team would you recommend and why?
San Jose Earthquakes, so that you can say you bought in at the bottom. No, I'm being serious. Nobody wants to just sign up. Like, I'm not going to advise you to sign up with the Crew or definitely not Inter Miami or Cincinnati. God bless the hometown club. But I think that there's something to be said for when 10 years from now, when they say, like, oh, like, what made you become a San Jose fan? I chose them because they were the worst team in the league at the time. I didn't want to be a front runner, and I wanted to suffer. I'm like David Goggins of fandom. I like people who suffer.
Okay. All right. It's a completely fair answer.
Or the Chicago Fire.
That's
if
exactly
we
what I was just gonna say. I was gonna say something similar, but say it's a Chicago Fire. And
the Earthquakes don't spend any money, and they suck.
That's why I was gonna go with Chicago, is because eventually they're gonna figure this out, right? I keep saying it about Manchester United, and they don't. So I guess maybe it's not necessarily true.
I wouldn't be too certain. There's something in the water in Chicago.
They will figure it out. God damn it, they will. They will. I keep telling myself that. I keep looking in the mirror every night. They will figure this out. But I actually like your rationale, and I had something similar for the Chicago Fire. Tommy, what would be your advice to this person?
My jackass answer would be support your local USL club.
That's okay. That's a fair answer.
Wait, is there USL club in this person? Can you just give us the city? Where are they?
I mean, I was thinking somewhere in, like, I don't know, South Dakota.
Oh,
is that where they live?
This wasn't a question from someone.
No.
Oh, I thought it was.
I thought it was a question from someone.
No.
Oh.
No.
I'll give you my real answer. Like, flipping the question of, okay, a lot of Americans go over to Europe to watch, or England to watch games, and like supported the team from afar. Vice versa. I think location is a huge part of this conversation, more so than in England. And I'd probably go with LAFC because it's closer to the beach and like the happenings.
What about San Diego?
San Diego's not a bad one. Just start from scratch before they.
You don't know what they're going to be. You're just an inaugural fan. That's all you are.
Yeah, that's a good point. And then for Eastern Conference, from purist, obviously Columbus, but I'm not going to do that one. I would go with Nashville. Fun city to go to, newish club.
They're on the struggle bus right now, man.
Along with Tyler's point, they're on the struggle bus. You can see them rise, and take some solace in that.
Good answers all across the board. Round the world. We're going to start with the new, and I'm throwing air quotes for anybody not watching on YouTube, improved Champions League here. So how does it work? I mean, honestly, I don't really know. I do know that there's 32 teams. We whittled it down to what we would call the group stage at this point. They got rid of that language. It's now called the
league phase.
The league phase instead of the group stage. So everyone plays 4 home games, 4 away games. It's based on a random draw, quote unquote random draw, using a highly complicated algorithm that I in no way, shape, or form understand. The fact that it's 8 group games instead of 6 group games is important because, number one, that means more money. Perhaps there's some other benefits to it that Tyler might walk us through real quickly. And then there's another there's an extra knockout round as well on the back end. So those are kind of the big changes here. You know, we're not going to have the usual format of home and away against the same 3 teams. That's out the door. Okay, so sit from your brain. Just get ready for this new way of sort of they're just going to be a table, and the top top 16, I assume. Is it 16 to get through or 24? How many teams get through on the knockouts?
16.
16, so it's still the same. Okay. So, Tyler, what would you say to a hater who says, you know what, this stinks and is all about money?
Well, everything is always about money from now until the end of time. So, number one.
Especially in the soccer world, but yes.
Especially in the soccer world, because we corrupt. We corrupt all over the world.
Except for Sam's Army.
We hate money at Sam's Army. We really do. So, oh boy. Okay. So, I feel like Steph Curry during the in-season tournament, or before it. I feel like Will Ferrell in Zoolander. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. This is painfully easy to understand. More group stage, more league phase games, more money. more opportunities to see big clubs play against each other because there is no home and away. So you're simply just playing a one-off against the teams that you're drawn against. So you're going to have more matchups like Liverpool and AC Milan. You're going to have more matchups like Arsenal and Atalanta. You're going to have more matchups like Real Madrid and Bayern Munich. There's just more of those big games. It also means that we're going to have basically every single match day mean something because teams 1 through 8 get in to the knockout round. If you finish based on your points, right? It's a league phase. That's why they're calling it a league phase. It's not a group. If you finish with the highest in 1 through 8, then you're automatically through to the round of 16. There's half of your round of 16. 9 through 24 then enter into, I believe, a home and home for the next 8 spots. So every single match day is going to mean something. You're probably not going to know that you're locked in until the 7th or 8th match day, number 1. Number 2, even if you are locked in, there's a really good chance that the other team is going to have an opportunity to play for something. Because there's only 8 games, the point differentiation is not going to be very big throughout the course of this. So there's a lot of parity involved, I think, in the sense that, like, your team is always going to basically be in it. Like any NFL fan, they can basically say up until week 14 or 15, oh, we have an outside chance of getting a wild card game if so-and-so and so-and-so and so happens. I think that you're going to see a lot of that this year. But yeah, that's what I would say to a hater is that, like, I feel like this is really, 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 really simple. How they came up with the draw is complicated and an algorithm and AI and shit that I don't understand. But it was basically just based upon the fact of, like, your coefficient, which is essentially like what your domestic league and where you finished in the domestic league puts you in terms of a pot. Like Real Madrid, Manchester City, the top teams from the top leagues are going to be in pot 1, but that was the same set up during the group stage format of the Champions League. And then it's also based upon the fact that they don't want teams from the same countries to play each other until, I think, the quarterfinals or whatever it is. Right. So that's fairly straightforward. So don't worry about all the other crap. Worry about the teams that are in front of you in the 8 games that you have. Try to finish in the top 8, and then buckle up for 9 through 24, because I think that those are going to be bloodbaths, like that sort of like wild card round. That's going to be super intense.
Fair enough. That was a pretty good number 1 overview of what's happening, and maybe a glasses half full version of explanation of why we should like it. I'm on board with that. I'm always looking for reasons for optimism. Hater, as a professional hater, I do always sort of early skeptic when it comes to things involving UEFA and those groups.
Which are you though? You deem yourself to be this perpetual optimist, and then with stuff like this, you want to hate on it before you even seen it.
It's all about who's involved. When it's groups like FIFA and groups like UEFA, I've just sort of there's a part of me that is
then vote for the Super League the next time the ballot comes out. If you don't like the way it's being run right now.
Listen, I'd find a reason to hate that group too. Don't worry about that. So here we got the first match week of Champions League coming up here this week. And so it's not just going to be Tuesdays and Wednesdays like we're used to. It's going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday with games starting at, I'm speaking as somebody in the Central Time Zone, so there's kickoffs at 11:45 a.m. and then 2 p.m. I believe all 3 of the days. So, they're spreading these games out. There's going to be more action, more time for us to work. And
the other thing too, Sam, is that there's no bullshit of if you get bounced early from Champions League, you get relegated to Europa League. There's no more of that nonsense, which I always thought was obscene, and I never understood it. So we like that.
That's fair. That's a plus. I think on the negative side, if I was going to sort of throw something out there, number 1, I just, we don't understand the algorithm and all that stuff. That's not that big of a deal. What is sort of, what strikes me as maybe not as good, as more complicated, whatever, is the simple elegance of, the Premier League schedule where you play everybody home and away. The same thing with the Champions League. Same thing, home and away. There's something nice to that. I understand you've actually outlined some reasons why it's good to not do that. So I hear you, but I do like the simple elegance of that.
But I think that they tried
of that.
But I think that they, for the most part, got it right in terms of, like, if you're upset that you have to go play, like if you're Liverpool and you're upset that you have to go play Milan away and Leipzig away, you get Leverkusen or Real Madrid at home. So, like, the better teams that you are going to play during the league phase, they tried to balance it out in terms of like getting 2 and 2.
Right.
If that makes sense.
They actually, I think they did this very logically.
Yeah.
You play 2 teams from each pot, home and away.
Yeah.
Regardless of what pot you're in, competitive balance.
Right.
And I think
one
you get a
game.
lot more interesting matchups.
I mean, there might be some situations where like the team that you're playing on the road in pot 1 actually might be an easier game than the team that you're playing at home. Yeah, but you can't account for that. And this is all, I've always had this gripe with sort of, and there's no way to change it, right? The team that won the previous year, that's not the team that you're playing this year.
Right.
There's different injuries, there's different circumstances, there's different coaches, there's different players, there's different tactics. It's not the same team.
Man City might have raided Girona.
And you're not the same team. So
it's true.
There's no way to control that. I understand where you're coming from, Sam, but there's no way to sort of account for like what that club is going to look like the following competitive calendar year.
Listen, it's easy to poke holes in any structure or format you decide to go with, and so I'm partially being devil's advocate here. I hear you guys. So we will now any games so from this first match week, any games stand out? I mean, obviously we got a Liverpool fan here, we have a Arsenal fan here.
I'll give you 3 games, 1 per day, not involving those teams.
Hit us right there. That's what we're looking for.
Real Madrid, Stuttgart. Stuttgart was my favorite team to watch in the Bundesliga last year, not named Bayer Leverkusen, and that should be very fun. Then day 2, you can go for the heavy hitter of Man City Inter, or you could go for the, former heavy hitter and up-and-comer between PSG and Inter. So that, PSG and Girona. That might just be Man City B versus Inter B. And then on Thursday, you have Monaco, Barcelona. Barcelona's probably started the best in Europe so far, and Monaco is not far off from that.
Okay. That's good shouts. The other ones I was going to point out, so this is Aston Villa's first Champions League in God knows how long. They're heading
1982?
82? Wow. So they're heading to Switzerland to play Young Boys, Milan and Liverpool on, also I believe on Tuesday. Obviously that'll be a good game, and we got Christian Pulisic involved. And then the other one I want to point out, Feyenoord and Leverkusen. That game should be an awesome game.
I think Atleti and Leipzig is also going to be a really good game.
What
I think
Atleti are this season.
Yeah.
See, okay, this is point proven right here. How many times match week 1 would we have listed 7 games that we're interested in?
Mm-hmm.
All right. You're selling me slowly.
Get on board,
selling me
Sam.
slowly.
What
Not
are you
on
doing?
board, but
get
you're
on
selling
board.
Me. MLS, Hit-It-N-Quit-It, minute time. Minute man, are you ready to go?
Let's get it. I'm always strapped and ready to go. All right. Match day 32 in Major League Soccer. So we are going to have to start where everybody starts, and that's down in Central Florida, where nobody wants to be unless you're going to Disney World, unless you're Oscar Pereja and Orlando City. And obviously New England didn't want to be there. 3-0 is the final score to Orlando, who continue to round into form towards the end of the Major League Soccer year. Again, match day 32. 38 match days, so we are very much in the business portion of the season. Let's head to the ATL, where little-known Nashville this season, under the tutelage, of course, of B.J. Callahan, who was the interim head coach for the U.S. men's national team in between the 2 stints of Greg Berhalter, the second of which should never have happened, but I didn't need to go there, but I did. Atlanta United lose at home to Nashville by a score of 2-0, who are fighting for their wooden spoon lives. All right, let's go down to South Florida this time, and that's going to be Inter Miami and the return of Lionel Messi. What does he do in his return? He obviously scores a brace, and Inter Miami beat Philadelphia, rematch of a semifinal in Leagues Cup last year by a score of 3-1, and they are running away with the Supporter Shield and probably going to become the greatest regular season team in MLS history. DC United and NYCFC, big game for DC. They get a draw at home. Christian Benteke scoring his 18th goal this season. He now leads the Golden Boot race, and the teams will split the points evenly. Let's head up north across the border as Charlotte travel to Montreal and see if Montreal pick up a 2-1 win. Nobody really cares about that game, so let's move on. Hella's real derby between Cincinnati and the Columbus Crew, a rematch of the Eastern Conference Final from a year ago, in which Columbus came from behind by a score of 3-2 and beat Cincinnati after being down 2-0. Cincy went into Columbus earlier this year and won by a score of 2-1. Columbus and Cincy split the points. 0-0 is the final score, which is a great result for Cincinnati at home. because they were missing 4 center backs. Yeah, you heard that right. 4 center backs. DeAndre Yedlin and Alvis Powell were playing on the outside of a 3-back system for Pat Noonan. Go figure. They were able to keep a clean sheet against the Columbus Crew, the best scoring team in Major League Soccer. Let's go north of the border one more time. Toronto FC with a big win over Austin to keep their playoff hopes alive by a score of 2-1. Austin on the outside looking into the Western Conference playoff picture. How about the Houston Dynamo? They have been cooking as of late. They got 2 results against LAFC, and now they put RSL to the sword by a score of 4-1. Benny Ball revamped, and they picked up some pieces during the summer transfer window that are clearly fitting into H-Town very nicely. That's a bad loss for Pablo Mastroeni and company as they are starting to slide and not exactly hit the right form at the right time. Chicago fired. They got a win. Yes, you heard that correctly. You do not need to rewind. They actually beat a team, and as they beat the Red Bulls, who's 4th in the Eastern Conference right now. 2-1 is the final score, and they do this every single year. They will get a win in the final 5 or 6 games of the seasons to make you think that they are alive in the playoff picture, but I promise you they will not qualify for the postseason. I'm just telling you right now. Let's go to St. Louis, where Minnesota United are coming off of a good win against the San Jose Earthquakes, and by good win, I just mean a win because everybody beat San Jose, who only have 17 points on the season. St. Louis City needed this win to stay alive in the playoff picture. Those are John Hackworth's words, the interim head coach, not mine. Minnesota United 3-1 winners after going down 1-0 inside of the first 5 minutes. Joaquin Pereira, their new designated player, who we could basically call is the replacement for Emmanuel Reynoso, but he actually shows up and he's a much different player than Emmanuel Reynoso, so that's a thumbs up for Minnesota United fans. Colorado Rapids at home against Portland, 2-1 winners. Chris Armas pointing to the camera after the game saying, we are on the way up, and Chris Armas, damn it, I believe you because I covered your run in the Leagues Cup against Club America where you were able to beat them in the quarterfinals and then eventually get to CONCACAF Champions Cup. Nobody expected that out of the Rapids after the season that they had last year. Phil Neville and Portland still struggling to find exactly what they're looking like in their playoff hopes in terms of where they are in the wild card race is very much up for debate, and they are battling with Minnesota for the 8 and 9 seed. That basically is going to determine who hosts that game, as the separation between the rest of the teams in the Western Conference who are not in the playoff picture is too great. All right, let's head north of the border one more time. Vancouver beat San Jose. I already told you, San Jose loses to everybody. Vancouver beat them. Chalk it up. It's done. All right, final game of Matchday 32, El Tráfico. Folks, if you don't know El Tráfico, it is the rivalry between the LA Galaxy and LAFC. If there is any guaranteed over in the history of soccer that Sam is going to bet on, that any of you should bet on, it's El Tráfico. This game has goals. I wouldn't be surprised if the last line for this game was set at 5.5 because it just should. It just should. LA Galaxy win by a score of 4-2 over LAFC, and that was after LAFC got off to a 2-0 start. They scored 2 goals inside of the first 20 minutes, and then Edwin Cerrillo scored a banger. Ricky Puig scored a goal, and then LA Galaxy ran all. Joveljic had a banger. I mean, this was just banger after banger after banger after banger after banger for Greg Vanney and company. And they basically have won the Western Conference. Now, that's not actually true, but that's what all the pundits are saying. And by pundits, I don't mean myself. I mean the talking heads at Apple TV, which, yes, is also who I'm working for, so I'm not going to disparage them by any stretch of the imagination. So LA Galaxy win 4-2. Right now, they're still trailing LAFC in the Western Conference table. Is that correct? I might be lying. No, they're leading right now, but the difference is that LAFC have 2 games in hand. LA Galaxy is up by 7 points, so I was right the first time around. I'm cracked out on coffee right now, so I can't really be accountable for any of the words that are coming out of my mouth. So the Galaxy probably are going to win the Western Conference. Inter Miami are running away with the Supporters' Shield, and that would do it for Match Day 32.
Well done, Mr. Minute Man. I mean, I'll also point out a little golf claps for you. You were the one that said Inter Miami and LA Galaxy at the beginning of the season. So
and what did I say last year? What did I say last year?
Can't remember.
I said Columbus and LAFC last year.
This man knows what he's doing.
I spend too much time around this league. I'm telling you.
You should get paid for this. 2 points. That was the first Fire win since mid-July. And it felt like that. And also, greatest MLS regular season perhaps in history. And that's mostly without Messi. Mm-hmm. This team is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Hey, stoppage time. And you know where we're starting. We are starting with Ivan Toney's best bets in the overtrain, where it wasn't exactly cooking last week. We started out real tough. Went 0-2 in our first games on Wednesday and Thursday. Thankfully, those games actually, I think they were both played before most people will have listened. So hopefully, while I'm including them in the math on my week, at least I didn't lose you money. So I at least feel better about myself there. We will move on, though. New day, new week. Let's get our winners one a day, Wednesday through Sunday, 5-a-side, overtrain. We're going to start in MLS on Wednesday, where the aforementioned Galaxy are visiting Portland Timbers.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this goals. This has goals left and right. I mean, Tyler already signed off on it, so you know that's happening. Thursday, we're going to Sweden, where Häcken is playing Djurgården. Garden. Sorry, that pronunciation is terrible. I was thinking about going with the Feyenoord Leverkusen game in the UCL or in Champions League because Leverkusen obviously is very good, but they also have been giving up goals left and right, so I do like that one. Officially, I'm staying with the Swedish game, Häcken and Djurgården. Friday, we're going to the Bundesliga, Augsburg and Mainz. Saturday, we're actually going to stay in the same region, but we're going to go down to Bundesliga 2, where Nuremberg is hosting Hertha Berlin. And finally, on Sunday, not going too far, you can take a train. We're going down to Austria, the Austrian Bundesliga, the other Bundesliga, Sturm Graz, who will be coming off of a midweek game in Champions League. They are the best team in the Austrian Bundesliga, but they will be, maybe a little leggy. They are going to be playing Wolfsberger, who scores a lot and gets scored on a ton. So Sturm Graz versus Wolfsberger on Sunday will round us out 5-aside. I feel really good this week. I feel really good. Last week we were scrounging. It was coming off an international break. Didn't have as many games to pick from. This week, I feel really good. Let's go get rich. Okay, Tyler, where are we going on Ivan Toney's best bets this week?
We're going to stay on the overtrain, and we're going to make a stop in Italy. Milan, Liverpool. I like that to go over. I also like the Young Boys and Villa game to go over. And then for Major League Soccer, this is not a parlay, by the way. This is not a parlay. I know a lot of you are disappointed right now. Somebody might have just swerved off the road and crashed into a divider on I-71 somewhere in Ohio, but just stay with me here for a second. Stay with me. And then if you get this in time and you listen to this in time, go under in the Nashville-Chicago game. I know I said we were on the overtrain, but just trust me, there will be no goals. Both teams not to score in the Nashville and Chicago game.
The one thing I could say about Chicago is at least they've been scoring in most games, but apparently not this week. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, their 21-year-old Greek striker has been scoring, and the guy they paid $15 gazillion for, and Hugo Kuipers, has been struggling to just find any semblance of the net.
Oh gosh, we'll be done with no
Tommy,
more Chicago Fire talk this week.
Yep.
Tommy, what do you got for us this week?
Was your first one Portland Galaxy?
It was.
Fuck. Okay.
You can double up on it.
But keep in mind, this is a short rest. They're coming off an emotional Derby weekend. Like, yes, if this was a normal week, I would 100% sign off on it. But now I'm starting to get cold feet on this game.
You're worried about You're worried about the Galaxy showing up.
I'm worried about both teams. This is a short week. Like,
wait, how is it short for them? Do they play midweek? Oh,
this is a midweek game.
Yeah, this game's on Wednesday.
The wrong day.
Okay, Tommy.
Yeah, we're good. We're back.
I'm nervous, by the way. Timbers and Galaxy's going over.
Okay.
Don't listen to Tyler.
I'm betting the under now.
This is usually how this works.
It is. It is.
I don't really have a strong one for this week. I'll go with Spurs. I'll double with the Spurs Brentford over.
I like that. I like that call. I thought about going with it, but then I figured if I actually said it, then it wouldn't happen. But I like that call. Spurs and Brentford on Saturday. Brentford, obviously, they just scored on City. They've been scoring. They've been playing well. Can get scored on, and God willing, we actually score some goals this week. All right. Go is time. Put a bow on this episode. I will. I don't have my usual laundry list of candidates this week. I do have a couple. I won't go first. I won't take anybody's picks. Anybody want to volunteer as to lead us off here? Okay, Tyler, go for it.
Big shout out to Pat Noonan, Chris Albright, and FC Cincinnati, who for the third straight year have qualified for the postseason. That was sort of a given this year, but given what they inherited and now what they currently own, I mean, you talk about getting in at the ground floor, at rock bottom, buying penny stocks and turning it into a blue chip. Pat Noonan, first ever Major League Soccer head coach to qualify for the postseason in his first 3 years and win a supporter shield in the middle of that. So mazel tov to FC Cincinnati, my hometown club. Big ups for the blue and orange.
Big shouts. Okay, Tommy, who you got?
I'll go with Christian Romero, Cuti Romero, whatever you want to call him. He, I think it was today or yesterday, retweeted an Argentine journalist that brought to light that Spurs was the only club in the Premier League not to fly their South American and Asian players home on a private jet. They made them make their own logistics. So people unfamiliar with this, because of the short turnaround, especially for South America, because they play an extra day later into the international break, a lot of these clubs will fly their players home with each other or with another club. Like maybe there's an Argentina private jet, and you have 10 or so guys on it from different clubs, and they all chip in for it. Spurs just decided not to partake in that, and apparently Romero was pretty pissed about that and decided to probably know what he's doing. Retweet this Argentine journalist highlighting that they had one less day of rest because of this, and that likely impacted the result on the weekend.
I'm glad you pointed that out. I did mention earlier about how tired we were coming off the international break. My goal for the week was going to be the Tottenham player care team, and for basically the same reason. They made him, I don't know, go to kayak.com and book a flight, which, obviously it's a tiring experience. I understand. I don't know how they screwed that up. I feel like if all these other teams are already doing it, like it'd be easy to figure it out. But since you stole my Goa, I will go with my second choice, Mikey Veras. What a comeback! Incredible comeback. A week ago, he was getting just maligned left and right. He picked himself off. Brushed off the bus wheel marks from his back, since he got absolutely thrown under the bus for those horrendous performances when he was the interim manager of the men's national team against Canada and New Zealand. Dusted himself off, maybe got a new haircut. I guess we'll find out on that. And he got hired as the first head coach of San Diego FC, the MLS expansion team that will start playing next year. So good luck to him. Best wishes, and if I have a piece of advice, as we talked about last week, you got to get a new haircut, man. If you're going to go in the locker room, you got to have guys respect you, and you just can't come in there with the little, the look that he had with the Christian Pulisic. He was basically he went to his barber and said, "Give me the Christian Pulisic." You can't do that. You got to come a little more authoritative with your hairstyle. So, but good luck to him, Mikey Veras. Best wishes on an MLS long and fruitful career. There we go. Tommy, Tyler, you guys are the best. Thank you, everybody who listened with us, and we'll be back next week. Bigger, better, faster, stronger, and we got to see you guys then. Cheers.